I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going to just spend a couple of minutes talking to you about the family caregiver support and hospice volunteer opportunities. And she has literature here as well.
Do I use this?
That will not project your voice out there, but it's for the TV.
So, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I'd like to thank each of you who are veterans, which I would think is the majority of the people here, for your service to our country. I mean that sincerely. I'm here this morning to tell you about a volunteer opportunity.
Thank you, Joanne. Our next speaker is going to be our superintendent of schools, Scott Shoemaker. He's going to just take a few words. I'm sure he can project his voice just fine.
Can you hear me? I'm going to echo, first off, by saying thank you for your service and your dedication and all that you do. You're such incredible role models. I have a son right now who's in the Marine Corps, so I'm very proud of what he's doing and the road that you paved and the motivation for him to join the Corps. I wish I could get more students involved in the military, the opportunities that the military offers. I think our world is upside down right now. I think that the armed service, the armed forces can provide so much of what our youngsters need today. That patriotic spirit, that discipline, that caring for others, that coming together as one and being united. If you see what's going on right now, and you know what's going on in our state, in our town, in our country, with this divide over politics, the military brings everything together as one. There is no Democrat or Republican Party in the military. And I really think we need to go back to that. I think the root of all evil is in this phone. I think this has hurt us. Now this is the educator, he's saying, I think this has been a big demise in our society. So I say that to you as role models, as working with your grandchildren and our youngsters to instill in them those values and those beliefs that are so important to making our country thrive again. We have some events coming up at the schools that I invite all of you to come to, starting at the middle school on Friday, and then Monday we'll be celebrating the other 3 schools. I'm going to put the agenda and the times of everything on the table. I'll bring those in, Luis. I don't think you have them. So you're all welcome to come into our schools. If you're wondering, we are in school on Veterans Day for respect. Okay, I started doing this 25 years ago as a high school principal in the town that I worked in because kids would sleep until 11 o'clock on the 11th day and they would have no idea what Veterans Day was all about. They had no idea. So there's been a shift and we bring our veterans in and our veterans speak to our students. They share their experiences. They sit and have breakfast and lunch with them and they hear about what it was like from whatever time frame they were in the service and how they grew up and a little bit about themselves. They get more in that experience than they will in their schooling experience when we talk about the value of our military. So I would love to have you there. If you'd love to say a few words or be involved with that, we can connect you with the people in the schools to do that. You don't have to talk in front of a large crowd. You can come into a classroom, you can sit at a table, and you can just share what the military did for you or for your family. So I extend that to you. I will put that on the front table. And again, thank you so much for what you do. And I'm proud to have my son in the Marine Corps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. Our next speaker is going to be Dave Ambrose. He is our town assessor. He's going to talk to you. This is Dave. He's going to talk to you a little bit about the breaks you could get on property tax and your home and all his assessor plans. Thank you.
First off, I would like to thank you for your sacrifice and commitment for defending all the freedoms and privileges afforded by the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Dave Ambrose. I am the town assessor. This is my 31st year in the business. I was an assessor in the city of New Haven for 23 years. I was the assessor in the town of Thomaston for 4 years. And now this is my 4th year for the great town of North Branford. Let's get started. Let's start with the cornerstone exemption for all veterans in this state. If you have served at least 90 days in a recognized military conflict, you are entitled to $3,000 assessment dollars, which translates into a $102 tax deduction. All you have to do is file your DD-14 with our town clerk. Also, the surviving spouse of an eligible veteran is also eligible. The dates of conflict are as follows. Korean War, World War II. The dates are from December 7th, 41 through December 31st, 1946. The Korean conflict, June 27th, 1950 through January 31st, 1955. Vietnam, February 28th, 1961 through July 1st, 1975. The invasion of Grenada, October 25th, 1983 through December 15th, 1983. Operation Earnestville, July 24th, 1987 through August 1st, 1990. Invasion of Panama, December 20th, 1989 to January 31st, 1990, and the Pershing Ball Court, anytime after August 2nd, 1991. Any questions about the basic debt exemption? Next, I would like to discuss low-income veterans. Your $3,000 exemption would double to $6,000. And the tax savings would double from $102 to $204. All we need from you guys is a copy of your most current federal tax return. If you don't have one, then we ask you for all other income statements, pension statements, lottery winnings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also a copy of your 1099 form from SSI. The income limit for unmarried veteran is $36,300. For a married veteran, the income cap is $42,000.
Dave, that's gross.
That's net adjustable, that's gross adjustable income.
Okay.
That's after,
Yeah,
that's your taxable income.
right.
So if you go home and look at the first page of your tax return, the bottom line on the first page would tell you what your gross income is.
And then for people that do not file taxes, they don't have that to refer to, so.
Usually in January, you get a 1099 form from your banks, your ex-employer. So if you don't file, like Lisa said, a tax return, then we need all your income statements that you receive usually every January. And the sign-up period for the program is February 1st of any given year through September 30th. So that is the sign-up period. Now, if you are a disabled veteran, in other words, if the VA has assigned you a disability rating, you are entitled to additional benefits. For example, if you have a rating between 10 and 25%, your assessment will increase from your exemption would increase from $3,000 to $4,500. That would be additional tax savings of $152, and that would double to $304 if you meet the income requirements. If you have a disability rating between 26% and 50%, your assessment will increase from $3,000 to $6,000. That's a tax savings of $200, and if you meet the income requirements, that would double to $400. If you have a rating of between 51% and 75%, your assessment exemption would increase from $3,000 to $7,500. That would be a tax savings of $250, and if you meet those income requirements we just talked about, that would double to $500. And lastly, if you have disability rating between 76% and 100%, your exemption would increase from $3,000 to $9,000. That would be an additional tax savings of $300, and if you meet the income requirements, that would double to $600.
Dave, can you stand maybe over here to Jeff, because they can't pick it up on the.
I'm sorry.
So this way it can be filmed, you can pick it up. Thanks.
Question.
Go ahead.
Remember, this information that you just gave us, can we get this information online?
You cannot, I have printed out on the table. In front right here. I just printed out about 10 minutes ago. Okay. Also, if you're an active service person, you are entitled to have one vehicle exempted. That includes if you are in the reserves or in the National Guard. All you have to do is provide us with an application on an annual basis. Also, there's something known as the Civil Service Members Civil Service Act. If you know somebody that is not a non-Connecticut resident that is assigned to a base in the state, they're also entitled to have one vehicle exempted. And I also have some non-veterans benefits that I would like to discuss with you. The first one is a Social Security disability exemption. If you are deemed totally disabled by the government, you are entitled to a $1,000 assessment exemption. If you are considered blind by your doctor or the state of Connecticut, you are entitled to a $3,000 assessment exemption. If you have a vehicle that you own that has been modified to accommodate a disabled individual, that van or vehicle will be exempted. Also, this program goes hand in hand with the low-income veterans exemption. It's called the Homeowners and Disability Tax Reduction. So if you're over 65, or if you're deemed disabled by the government, you're eligible for a tax deduction that's predicated upon your income, and depending on your income, the benefit will be between $250 and $1,000. Like I said, if you're eligible for this program, you're probably eligible for the low-income veterans program. I wish I had more to offer you guys as far as benefits, but unfortunately I don't. Is there any questions?
Dave,
None?
if anybody receives one of these benefits as a veteran, and then they pass away, does the spouse inherit?
Yeah, that's right. If the veteran, at the time of his death, is eligible for any of these exemptions, the benefit passes to the spouse. They're right here.
I have a question.
Sure. Hang on.
A person with Agent Orson cancer, can he get life insurance?
That's not my territory, sir. I can't help you there.
We can ask that of Brian McKenna.
Anybody else? Please, any questions? Yes.
Not related to what you're talking about, but there's two beautiful speakers up there. Is there a way of getting those?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I think this is for you guys, right? This is for the TV station.
Not those.
I don't think so. Hey, I don't believe so. The gentleman asked if these speakers can be used for the program.
That microphone is only connected
That's
to
only- no, this
that
is-
camera, or it's going to go on YouTube. I can ask. I'll ask if we have a microphone to speak out. Are you all set?
I have a couple of questions. How
Okay.
many people are currently getting an exemption from the city of Branford?
Exemption.
Is there anybody here that may be eligible that's not getting an exemption?
Sure, a lot of guys.
Yeah. By the way, these benefits are not only eligible for veterans in this town, but this is every town and city has the same programs by state statute. So if you live in Wallingford, you're still eligible for this benefit, but you have to go to their assessor's office to sign up for this.
It's a little off track, but have you been approached about the Gold Star benefit? Meaning, Gold Star families now, little by little, towns around the state having an exemption for
You know what?
the families of deceased.
That's a good point. There is a benefit that started this year.
Yep.
It's for Gold Star families, and fortunately, I have not been approached by anybody in North Branford.
What is it? What is it?
Thank God.
What's the Gold Star family?
If you have a service member killed,
If you're a mother, a father.
right? So if you're a parent of a service person that was killed in action, you're eligible for a pretty big exemption.
Question. Would that go, my father was a colonel, and he also was in the CIA. And he died from trauma that he had had, fingers cut off and everything by the Germans. And he passed away. Would I be eligible for something that he had?
As a daughter,
Yeah.
unfortunately, no.
Well, maybe not
Not in
for
my
you, not
neck of
for
the woods.
assessors.
Not in my neck of the woods,
But Ryan
perhaps.
McKenna might be able to answer that from the veterans
Is there something?
in the state of Connecticut. So he might be able to answer that question
Can the
for you.
benefit pass from parent to child?
Yeah, depends.
Okay.
So when he gets up here, you ask that question again.
So, if you think that you're eligible for any of these programs, including the non-veterans programs, please call me, because they are very good. Not many in number, but the quality is there.
And you're entitled.
Affirmative.
I have a copier.
I have 40, I believe, and so yeah, we definitely need some more copies. I can make copies after this is done. Yes.
So let me just ask you this so I'm clear. When you first started speaking, you said if you had served during a military conflict between certain dates, you are eligible.
Correct. Green conflict?
Yes.
War? Yeah. What's a conflict, Danny? What's a conflict? Yeah.
Friday night in the bar and all
Yeah. This little slap fight, yeah. I never liked the term conflict. It's a war. Yes, ma'am. Yes, there is, right here. I'm sorry. I had a microphone, it would have been a laser. They usually do, they have a comedy at the TV station.
I asked if we have a microphone that hooks up to these speakers and there is not.
That'd be a problem with the TV picking up.
As long as you stay in this area.
Okay.
I apologize.
You mean the town doesn't have a microphone?
I'm sure we do
Not that,
something.
I just asked, not that hooks up to these
Because last year
speakers.
we couldn't hear also.
Oh, I thought last year it was echoing and so we went without. Okay,
I mean,
good
please
to
call
know.
me today in the office.
It's the number to reach you at, but
I
it's
have a
on
card.
the table.
I'll put the card on the table.
Okay.
Some cards. Call me. Okay?
Thank you.
That's it?
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. Louder, clear, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. I'm going to ask Bill Savastano, he's going to speak for a couple of minutes. He's a town resident and a veteran. And then right after that, we're going to have Ryan McKenna speak. Bill, you have a couple minutes?
Yep, I'm gonna ask Chuck, my friend Chuck Larkins, to be up here with me. You have handouts on the table. There's 4 copies, and a little flag on top.
Oh, all right.
Okay, the front page of that thing is what I have here. I'm gonna briefly talk about each one. First one being the VFW. Now, we know the VFW closed last year, but the VFW is always looking to have their members go to a different location. On your sheet, you'll see you got 5 different locations. On the back side of that sheet are phone numbers and addresses. So if you want to transfer, if you want to join, if you qualify, the numbers are there. And I do have applications up here for the same.
For the VFW.
For the VFW. The next item is the Veterans Day at the school. Our superintendent talked about him. Again, what he said is on the back page of that, the times for this Friday and then Monday, the other 3 schools. It's a great thing they do. Myself, I usually go to Jerome Harrison at 8 o'clock, have a nice breakfast, and then I shoot over to the high school. What they do there is you get a mixed bag, meaning 4 different grades, get in front of you, about 15 people, and 1, 2, or 3 veterans will sit at a table. This is after introductions and maybe a song from the band. But then you correspond with those 15. You just tell them what you did in the service, and they ask questions. 15 minutes later, you get a new group, so you do it all over again. It's great. Anybody wants to converse. The next item is the West Haven Museum. Again, it's on your sheet. It's a special thing they're doing Sunday from 1 to 3. They're actually, West Haven Museum, if you haven't been there, go to the website. It's on the back page. It's a beautiful, in fact, they have like a video on there, and it shows you pictures. It's beautiful. It's only 15 or 20 years old. And this year they're featuring all about Korean veterans. So they're going to have a special couple of speakers, but you can tour the museum, and especially other than Sunday, they're only open Thursday through Saturday, like 4 hours a day, so there's limited hours there. Chuck is going to say a few words about the quilts.
Hello everyone, I'm Chuck Larkins. I want to thank you all for coming. And for our veterans, thank you for your service and welcome home. On the Quilts of Valor, I was exposed to Quilts of Valor about 18 months ago. I met Jane Doherty at the VFW meeting. She wrapped a World War II vet. And they call it wrapping because you actually take a quilt that's made and you actually present it and you wrap it around the vet. These quilts that are here, the one that Bill has is Paul's, and Paul was presented with this quilt at Willis Wallaby Library in Branford. And you actually present it around the vet, and it's a very moving experience. All right. These other quilts are up here, the 2 that are up in this level, are going to be awarded next week at Willis Wallaby Library. 2 North Branford residents, husband and wife. And then this one up here is a Marine Corps vet that works at the Middletown Police Department. He's in the motorcycle fleet, or part of the Middletown Police, but that's why it's got a motorcycle on it. But it's a Marine Corps theme. It's got a lot of crimson and gold in it for the Marine Corps. But anyway, the Quilts of Valor, I have flyers up here. I have Jane Doherty's business card up here. If you want to nominate any person locally to receive a quilt, I recommend you contact Jane if it's within the state of Connecticut. If you have a relative out of state and you want to, you can go to a national website, QOVF, Quilts of Valor Foundation.org, and there's a nomination area there. You can nominate family, friend, no matter where they are, and QOV is now gone international. They have Canada, England, Australia, if need be. So as I say, if you want to see an actual presentation next Tuesday, the 13th at 1:30 at it's the Willoughby Wallace Library in Stony Creek. And if you have any questions, I'll be here for lunch and I can answer any questions you have on the quilts.
I just want to add one thing. I know I'm not supposed to talk, but I'll try and make it quick. These ladies were outstanding. I'll just maybe some of you didn't see it. The inside is, and it's really great for watching hockey and football. Early on the couch, and they just did it at the library over there. And I want to add one little thing. I worked almost 30 years for the post office. I had a good friend from West Haven. I hadn't seen him in a long time. I turned around, he's coming in from West Haven, so it just wasn't a little, and they gave him a clue too. So a lot of effort and time, as you can all see. Good job.
Again,
Thank you.
That information is on the back side of that form. Next item is Reach Across America. Anybody familiar with that? That's December on the 11th, and this year's going to be on the 11th, Tuesday. There's 18 tractor trailers coming down from Maine with Reach. They're headed to Arnold. 2 years in a row now, they've made a stop in Branford. That's unusual because they usually go down to other cities. Last year they were late, so they promised to come back this year. But if you're out on the afternoon of December 11th, you'll probably see it on Channel 8. Come over and you can wave them on. There's an inside ceremony, but it's
It's at the Branford Firehouse on Route 1.
it's pretty
That's
impressive.
where that's going to be this year. December 11th.
And a couple of,
December 11th, the
Tuesday.
Branford Firehouse.
it's on your,
Main
it's on your
firehouse.
sheet. You don't have a sheet, but I'll get you.
They're actually going to move the fire trucks out, and the event will be held inside the bay, so where the fire equipment is.
They shipped these all the way down from Cumberland and they put them out down in DC. I would hate to break in like this, but you just can't imagine the way you feel when you see truck after truck, people more lazy volunteering to do this.
Quick thing about Memorial Day next year. We've got a new sign because the VFW is closed. Veterans in North Branford. We need you to come out. Last year there was only about 5 of us. 2 of us are carrying the banner. We need more people. We need you veterans out there. Listen, you're veterans. It's a parade for you, but more importantly, you're marching for the people that came before us. And we need you to come out. And this year, hopefully, we're going to have maybe a tram or some golf carts for guys that have a problem walking, or ladies.
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. We have young students coming around to give cards to the veterans. They'll be passing out cards. Ryan, if you want to come up here. Ryan McKenna is a veteran service officer with the State of Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs, Office of Advocacy and Assistance. He's going to be talking about all the programs that might be available to veterans and their families that might be beneficial to you.
All right, can everybody hear me? Yes. I've got a pretty deep voice and it kind of carries, so hopefully everybody can hear me just fine. Like you said, my name is Ryan McKenna. I am the manager of advocacy and assistance at the VA, which is a fancy title for I oversee the service officers for the state of Connecticut. The service officers are broken up by the 5 congressional districts. There's about 2 in each congressional district to help you with your benefits that you want to apply for from the federal VA. Okay? I'm going to leave my contact information up here as well, so you can contact me, but most likely I'm going to refer you to one of my service officers to help you with your specific casework. If you have specific medical questions that come up while we're talking, hold them. We can talk after, all right, because some of that stuff can get kind of personal. If you have something that's a general question, we can definitely field that if it's for the good of the organization. Make sense? So we'll talk personal stuff offline. Real quick about me, I am a 5-year vet of, if you will, of the Connecticut Veteran Affairs. Started as a service officer in Norwich. Before that, September 11th was my senior year of high school. So I enlisted in the Army right after that. Went to the 82nd Airborne Division and jumped out of planes for 3 years. So, what do you guys think? I don't know.
Thank you.
But having served in Iraq and Afghanistan helped me appreciate what I do as a job now when it comes to benefits and dealing with veterans and their families and the dependents. Like there's so much that goes into being a veteran service officer that you have to kind of have lived the life to explain the life. So that's a little bit about me. I was pretty fortunate to come back to a pretty warm homecoming. But I go to a bunch of these briefings like this, and I always try to recognize our Vietnam vets. So if you wouldn't mind, if you're a Vietnam vet, please stand up. thank you and welcome home. Thank you. So, we'll start with what Connecticut Veteran Affairs is, okay? We are not the federal VA. That's the most common question I get. It's literally the same. Connecticut Veteran Affairs title is the same as the federal Connecticut Veteran Affairs. So I spend a lot of my time saying, nope, that's us, or yes, that is, that's somebody else. So we have 4 core functions within the State Department of Veteran Affairs. We have the residential facility, the health care center, Office of Advocacy and Assistance, and cemetery memorial services. We're going to briefly touch on those, okay? And if you have any specific questions, I'll be honest, healthcare center and residential are not my area of expertise, but I can give you the phone numbers if you have questions beyond what I give you. And you can follow up with those people there. So residential facility provides veterans with a continuum of rehabilitation services and programs designed to return them to independent living. Long and short of what the residential facility is, it's on Rocky Hills campus. It's not a handout, it's a hand up for our veterans that are in need of, some assistance, whether it's transitioning back into the workforce, whatever it may be. Every case is uniquely different for the veterans that are on campus. But if you feel that that pertains to you or somebody you know or love, definitely give me a call and we can get them into the eligibility department, okay? Patriots Landing, that's a next step of the residential facility. So the residential facility is for the veteran, okay? That's it, no families allowed. Whereas Patriots Landing, that's 5 houses, literally right across the street from our campus, 5 houses designed for families, okay? And they can stay there for up to 2 years. All right, those are families veteran families that are in transition, all right? So again, if you know somebody or you think that somebody might be in need of those services, please let me know. We're gonna get into disability and pension. That's towards the end, because that's usually where I have the most questions. Healthcare center. Healthcare center follows a rehab model, providing long-term care to veterans with chronic disabling conditions who require 24 hours assistance. Other services on site, respiratory therapists, Medicaid coordinators, mental health services, music and memory, podiatry, the list goes on, okay? The healthcare center, you guys may have seen in the news, is going to be transitioning to a skilled nursing facility, all right? We have about 125 beds, plus or minus, and at the time, there was a 30-person wait list because they did not meet the criteria to get into the healthcare center. It was for chronically ill individuals, not skilled nursing facilities, okay? So after looking at what the healthcare center could provide, based on what the veteran need was, we are going to be transitioning to a skilled nursing facility. No timetable on it yet, but it's in the works as we speak, okay? The cemetery and memorial services. I oversee those 2 core functions, cemetery and OA&A, advocacy and assistance. Quick show of hands, who's been to Middletown State Veteran Cemetery in the past 6 months? Who's been there? Who's been there at any point, at any time? Raise your hand. Okay, that's more than most. Middletown State Veteran Cemetery is going through a massive overhaul. Okay, it was opened in 1985, and since that time, the standards, if you will, weren't applied as stringently as they should have. So you'll see sometimes some of the headstones kind of go up and down, almost like piano keys, right? Not in line, diagonal, they're kind of off. There are 2 grants simultaneously going on right now. One is the raising, realigning, and cleaning of all 10,000 headstones on the Veterans Cemetery, so that will be like a mini Arlington. That's all, and then the other project is the cemetery expansion, which is going to provide 2,000 pre-placed crypts along the back side of the cemetery area. It's about $10 million total in grant money, all from the federal VA. None of that came out of state money, okay? So those are the 2 big projects. Now, with that being said, we have seen a large increase in the amount of burials at our state cemetery, which is good. Downfall. It's going to be at capacity in about 12 to 15 years tops, okay? I'm not saying that to scare you, I'm saying it to let you know that we are currently already working on a plan to either expand the current cemetery, right? Or acquire another piece of land and have another cemetery, another state veteran cemetery, okay? To extend it 40, 50 years out, all right? With that, so it's important that you understand that we're looking at it. It's already, there's a plan underway, and there's going to be a workshop on Tuesday the 13th at Rocky Hill campus. There's going to be to talk about the needs of the veterans that want to be placed at the State Veterans Cemetery. Okay, there was a survey that went out. It was put in the Hartford Current to try and get some information from the veteran community. We were hoping to get a little bit more than we did, but we got enough responses. But now the next step in project planning is to bring the community in. Okay, we're going to bring everybody in on campus who wants to come. Like I said, it's Tuesday the 13th. The first session is from 3 to 4:30, and the second session is from 5 to 6:30. All right, there'll be coffee and pastries there. You know, come up, listen to what the thought process is. It gives you an opportunity to talk about it as well. So if there's something that you need or want or think that we can do better at the State Veterans Cemetery, that's your opportunity to bring it up. Everybody got it? So, not at capacity yet. I walked out of a previous briefing and they said, so it's at capacity now? Let me tell you, it's not at capacity now, but it is filling up. We average, like I said, 700 burials a year, which, you know, about 10 years ago, we were doing about 300 a year. So you can see the uptick in the amount of burials, and you'll see largely that's going to be coinciding with these projects wrapping up. So it's a beautiful cemetery now. We've taken down a bunch of the trees, the extra trees, the big pine trees that were behind the American flags, those are gone. So you can see the American flag and the state flag from anywhere on the State Veterans Cemetery. So it's coming out really beautifully. I just finished my pre-eligibility paperwork, so I can be buried there as well. So to get into the next, that's projects, that's big level, right? Next question I always get is, I want to be buried there, what's next? All right, up here there's a flyer for cemetery memorial services, but if you're writing numbers down, it's the phone number for the burial office is 860-616-3688. And that's where you can call to do the pre-eligibility paperwork if you want to be buried at Middletown. Okay? That's it for death, I promise.
That was
860-616-3688.
Did you mention they have a lovely little, like a church or something that you could have your service in?
Yep, I absolutely.
Oh, did you?
I know I didn't, but I will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's kind of a nice thing.
The location is 317 Bow Lane, Middletown. So it's right smack dab in the middle of the state.
Yeah.
So what this lady up here was talking about is actually at Middletown State Veterans Cemetery, there is a chapel. So if you want to have your service there, you can. It's not very big, but just keep that in mind. But also if you ever go there and you want to find where somebody is buried, on the admin building on the right-hand side, there's a kiosk. You just go up and you can just type in the first couple digits of the name, and it'll tell you the grave location, name, and it'll tell you where you can go. And like it'll give you a "you are here, go here." Okay, so that's pretty good. Like I said, the chapel is a good thing to talk about, but it's smaller. You could probably fit about 30 people in it. Okay, so I think that's it for death and dying.
If you want to have veterans buried in a private cemetery, you do provide a footstone.
Yeah.
And you order those in advance, or does that just can only be done?
So the question was, can you order a footstone in advance for a private cemetery? Okay, the answer is no, because you need the death certificate in order to do the headstone. So that's private cemetery. Last thing, I promise it's going to be the last thing about cemeteries. When an individual, it's for a veteran and a surviving spouse, okay, you can be placed together. It can be casket burial, it can be cremation burial. There's also a columbarium if you choose to do that, which is like the niche wall, as you may have seen. That's for veteran and spouse. If the spouse goes first, that's okay, it doesn't matter, okay? Just know that if you're eligible, you can go there. The cost incurred, okay? When an individual passes to when they get to the cemetery, that's on the family, okay? Once you cross that threshold, those services at that point, the digging of the grave, okay, the placement of the stone, the ordering of the stone, that's all free. All free, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind.
Is that a standing stone or is
What's that?
the headstone?
At our cemetery, yes. It's a standing, the marble headstone. Yep. Yep, no footstones at the Middletown State Veterans Cemetery. They're all the standing uprights.
Just to make this clear.
Yeah.
My husband is the veteran, but I'm the spouse, and we're being buried in a private cemetery.
Yep.
So am I eligible for a footstone in a private cemetery?
Yes, your name can go on that footstone.
Oh, the same
Yes.
footstone?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not two
Not a
separate,
one. No.
together.
Very much. The burial site, is that, say what's taken care of altogether?
No, the dig, so when a person, like I said, I'll just reiterate the same shtick, so I make sure I have everything the same. When a person passes, okay, if you're choosing to do a casket burial, getting the casket, that's on the veteran or the family, okay? If you're doing cremation, the cremation is on the family. Once you're at Bow Lane and you cross that threshold and you are now on the State Veterans Cemetery campus itself, okay, on the cemetery grounds, that is when you won't pay for the digging of the hole, you won't pay for the placement of the stone, you won't pay for the stone, none of that. That part is all included with cemetery memorial services through the federal VA.
What's on the stone? Should you pick choosing headstone or?
To a point. The question was, can you pick what you put on the headstone? Short answer, yes. Long answer, to a point. Okay. You get to put you get a choice of a religious symbol, name, years of service, and then 4 words of endearment. So most commonly is like gone but not forgotten, loving husband, father, grandfather. I mean, there's any multitude of what you want to put on there. There's nothing. Say again? And branch of service. Yes, branch of service is on there. Significant medals, whether it be a Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Silver Star, that stuff goes on there as well. If your spouse is buried with you, the spouse's information will be on the back side of that same stone. Okay? Back side of the same stone. Love it. Any other cemetery questions before we move on?
I got a real quick one.
Yeah.
When we all joined up, we were entitled to a honor guard service. And I go to visit my wife a lot in North Haven, Wallingford, North Haven. And they're really cutting back on the guys and not getting a lot of help. Is that because we don't have volunteers? The state cutting back on funds? They used to play taps and everything.
So the question is talking about the state funding for the honor guard services. About 3 or 4 years ago, there was a proposed reduction of $500,000 for the taps, etc. Let me just backtrack it the whole way. When the veteran passes away, they're entitled to burial military honors. Okay, the DoD, Department of Defense, they will send at a minimum 2 people to fold the flag and present the flag and taps. Okay, the caveat was that there was not a whole lot of the cemetery and memorial services, not us at the Fed level, didn't really have a whole lot of people that we keep sending to all the military funerals throughout. So there was $500,000 to pay veteran service organizations such as VFW, American Legion, Marine Corps League is another pretty popular one, to give those individuals a couple of bucks to go and do the rifle salute and stuff like that. That is still a go. That has not been taken away.
I see.
That has not been taken away.
Yeah, these guys say they're getting less and less though.
That's going to be through your state legislator. That's not anything having to do whatsoever with
That's what I
Connecticut
wanted to
Veteran
make sure,
Affairs.
because I know, I see
Yeah.
them often, and there were 4, now 2, and
Yes.
they're bringing their own, the guys are
Is
not
it
young.
volunteerism? Is that part of the problem?
That I don't know. So I'm a member of the 82nd Airborne Association. I'm a member of VFW Post out of Manchester. And as you all know, every single chapter is waning, right? I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So whether or not the people are there or not, you'll sometimes see the same people going to the cemetery services more and more, right? The goal is for those organizations to provide those services for their brother and sister veterans, okay? But I can tell you that the reduction of any kind of money, which did not happen, is not anything affiliated with Connecticut Veteran Affairs. That's a state legislative move. Everybody savvy on that?
So we should go to our state legislature.
Anytime you see anything that has to do with budget and veteran affairs, you go to your state legislature. Everybody got it? All right. Hopefully no more death and dying, please. Killing me, no pun intended. All right, so Office of Advocacy and Assistance, that's what brings a lot of people here, okay? Office of Advocacy and Assistance is comprised, like I started talking about in the beginning, there are 5 district offices throughout the state, Milford, Bridgeport, Waterbury, Newington, and Norwich. Most people in here have dealt with, if you've chosen Connecticut Veteran Affairs, have dealt with Ann James, or previously was Dawn Waldron out of the Milford office, okay? Ann was supposed to be here today, but unfortunately she had to take an appeal with one of her veterans, so she asked me to come down and brief with you guys, which obviously I would never say no. So she's assisting one of her veterans currently with an appeal. So we get into the appeals and we talk about disability in a second. So any questions that you may have relating to anything that we're about to talk about, okay? Be pension, which is nursing home pension, A&A, I'm gonna throw a bunch of buzzwords at you that you've probably heard. They're gonna get geared towards Ann James, okay? And the phone number is right up here. It's in this little flyer. But if you're writing stuff down, I'm gonna give it to you anyways.
Brian,
Yep.
in addition, I have those applications in my office.
Perfect.
So if
Yeah,
you
don't-
should forget whatever, you'll
Don't
get it.
feel it. Don't
You'll get
feel
it.
like if you walk out of here and you don't see me before I head back to Rocky Hill, fear not. You know, the people here, we can get you squared away with the numbers, but just in case you're writing it down, Ann is 203-874-6711. And her office assistant in the front, her name is Gail. She will most likely talk to you right off the rip if Ann's at either another outreach event like this or what have you. Now, I know not everybody is in this district. Not everybody is from, you know, North Branford, or this might be a surrounding town, but it's the 3rd congressional district, okay? It's 3rd congressional district goes to Ann James. So if you voted for or did not vote for, if Rosa DeLauro was on your ballot, okay, then you would go to Ann James. Got it?
Rosa DeLauro does a lot of work with the veterans. In
Yes.
other words, if you don't know how to fill out your form,
Yep.
you can go to her office and they'll help you.
I would, while they can help you, I would recommend seeing a veteran service officer. So she was talking about Rosa DeLauro having people there that can help. They can help, but they're not certified veteran service officers, which is why I'm highlighting Ann so heavily. Okay, a veteran service officer is someone who has taken training with the federal VA. It's 600 OJT hours. There's like I don't know, it's like a 300 question multiple choice exam pertaining to veterans benefits, okay? And you have to be on behalf of an organization such as Connecticut Veteran Affairs or the American Legion, VFW, to be a certified veteran service officer. Everybody got it? So, and then another caveat too, is if you are out in the public and somebody is trying to charge you to apply for veterans benefits, get away from it. By law, they are not supposed to charge you to put any kind of applications into the federal VA. Everybody got it? That's important. Because I get a couple of those emails. I'd say probably once every 2 months, I get a new person that says, hey, this person's been charging veterans. That's a no-go. Okay?
Which is, this is just a veteran. I
That's
mean, the
cemetery, yes
Do you
ma'am.
have the
Yep,
other?
right here.
Can we have a couple of them?
Sure can.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course. So, the things that fall under OANA, Office of Advocacy and Assistance, like I said, we'll get to disability in just a second. The Connecticut Wartime Service Medal. So if you served during a period of war, and recent legislation was passed to include National Guardsmen and reservists, regardless of that, you always hear that 90 days of service, right? If you served, you are eligible for that medal. If you served, you are also eligible for the flag on license, okay? The veteran flag on your license. All you have to do is just give me some information. Give me something that shows you served honorably, right? And we'll make it happen. That's, like I said, that piece of legislation just went through effective October 1st to open that benefit up. The Wartime Service Medal and the flag on license is to open that up to everybody who served, regardless of branch, regardless. Okay, everybody got it? We also do the certification of the veteran micro-owned business. So if you are a business owner, and you own your business 51% or more as a vet, you make less than $3 million a year, there is a program statutorily driven that will allow that business to apply for state contracts and get a 15% bidding preference. Okay? It's an application, it's right on our website. I'm the approver of it, so if there's anything that you didn't submit or you need, I'll just shoot you an email, we'll get you squared away. Last but not least is the judicial veteran certification. So we've seen people that get in trouble with the law, a couple of veterans, and there's a program in place to help veterans avoid jail time for minor offenses. Minor offenses. It would put them into accelerated rehabilitation or to another program so that they don't go to jail. All right, that's the intent, but it's really, even though we sign off on the form, it still comes back to being up to the judge whether or not they're going to accept that and help that veteran out. All right, disability. Disability and pension. So when a person has a service-connected condition, which we'll get into, they're eligible for benefits through the federal VA. Benefits meaning health care, and there's a monetary benefit tied to it as well. Monthly monetary benefit. So, for example, if you look at one person, me, Ryan McKenna, I'm considered 100%, right? But if I have hearing loss, well, I have for example, a 10% disability because I'm a combat infantryman, right? I jumped out of planes for 3 years, right? All for regardless, I was 18, I was young. When you have hearing loss as a result of your military time, you fill out an application through Ann James, based on your military time, and you'd be eligible for that benefit, all right? Now, there are times where you think you may have been around a high noise exposure, right? But the VA has a list of MOSs, which is Army is your job, AFSC if you're in the Air Force, whatever your job is, and if it's not a high noise exposure job, you may not be eligible, even though you may have hearing loss. Okay, we need to get that out now. I have a lot of people that come to the office and say, I was denied. I'll say, what was your MOS? And they'll say something like, I don't want to pick on anybody, because I don't want to hurt any feelings, because there are certain jobs that will be in it. I don't know, admin doing paperwork in a desk. They never left their desk spot, right? So they're not really around high noise exposure. So if they do have hearing loss, it's not likely going to be caused by their military time, okay? If you do get service connected, at that point you're eligible for a monetary benefit each month. It goes in increments of 10, so 10, 20, 30%, all the way up to 100%. Each 10% increase has a monetary value associated with it. So 10% currently is, I think, like $138 a month. 20% is like $250 plus or minus, 30%, et cetera, all the way up to 100%, all the way up to 100% disabled, which currently is about $3,000 a month. That's tax-free money. You don't report it. That's for you to do what you got to do. It is supposed to represent lost earnings as a result of your service-connected condition. Make sense? Whereas if you didn't have that condition, you would have been expected to make that amount of money. All right? So up in the 100%, it could be anything. There could be anything. Sometimes your cancers, etc. But to talk about some disabilities, I saw there was a lot of hands that went up, and a lot of people that stood up, excuse me, for Vietnam. Vietnam is a big one for Agent Orange. It's the nastiest buzzword in the entire Department of Veteran Affairs. Agent Orange was a defoliant spray that was sprayed over the jungles of Vietnam to basically kill the shrubs, kill the bush, right? So that service members could do what they had to do while they were deployed. That stuff, it was literally an orange spray, would get into the person's system and has caused a litany of things, to include diabetes, and then if you have diabetes, the secondary to that would be peripheral neuropathy, which is numbness of the extremities, lung cancer, prostate cancer. I mean, there's I think 17 or 18 conditions, okay? So if you served in Vietnam and you have something, you have a condition that you're like, you know, it's not in my family history, etc. Like I said, there's 17 conditions. Call Ann. I need you to call Ann and apply for benefits immediately. Everybody got it? Those are called presumptive conditions.
What is that? What is the monetary?
It depends. It all depends on what she asked what the monetary was for that. Each condition has a certain level of disability associated with it. So, for example, if you have ringing in your ears, that's called tinnitus, right? The max a person can get for that is 10%, regardless of how loud it is, right? But now if you have, say, prostate cancer, and you had the prostate removed, and you have no other symptoms, you're at 0%, right?
Oh, you've already taken care of it.
You've taken care of it.
What about PTSD?
Depends. I realize that's a rather generic answer, because it depends on the symptoms. She asked, what about PTSD? PTSD is rated under the mental health umbrella, okay? So whether you have generalized anxiety, PTSD, major depressive, they're all fall under the same symptomology when it comes to mental health. And don't quote me, but I believe it goes 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100. Those are there's no in-betweens. Those are your percentages. Each percentage has a level of disability associated with it, and as the percentage increases, so does the level of symptomology. Make sense? So you could have two people, you could have twin brothers in the same foxhole, and one could be, say, 70% with PTSD based on nightmares, etc., etc., etc. Twin brother right next to him, 0%, didn't affect him. You know, it's really depending on what the signs and symptoms of the person that is experiencing it. Talk to the VA about it. See you.
Speak about that, was June.
That's the next one. So the next one after that, so Agent Orange, nasty buzzword. Nasty buzzword number 2, Camp Lejeune, bad contaminated drinking water. Okay? So if you were stationed on Camp Lejeune for 30 days, is North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina.
If you were in Camp Lejeune as a Marine, just take that right off the table. If you were at Camp Lejeune for 30 days, from I believe 1957 to 1987, don't quote me, it's a big window, okay? And you come down with any of the big 8 that they have, again, that's liver cancer, kidney cancer, they're nasty ones. They're nasty. I don't think so. I think bladder is not, unfortunately. But don't, again, we can definitely get a reference on it. If you served on Camp Lejeune during that period for 30 days or more, we need to have you call in. If you have any kind of those conditions that you're like, you know, I didn't have that before I joined the service. Make sense? So Camp Lejeune and Agent Orange. Anything else having to do with disability question-wise?
I just found out safe, and I just opened it the other day, a couple weeks ago, and he wrote everything that all the doctors that he had seen. He didn't want to have me be upset. So he just saved it for me.
Yep.
And it said everything from PTSD, the 3 doctors that confirmed it, and he had anxiety and everything like that, but I didn't realize, and also he died of asbestos poisoning.
Okay.
And he said the asbestos was on the ship that he was sent out for, and he slept under it while they were cleaning it.
Are you receiving benefits from the VA?
No.
We need to talk about it.
Do we? Oh,
We need to
thank
talk
you.
about it. I can see everything you've got.
Yeah.
You know, but we need to talk.
Thank you.
Next, the last one for benefits, the last big one we're down for benefits, is people call it pension, aid and attendance, aid and assistance, A&A. You've probably heard a bunch of different names for what the VA provides, what's called aid and attendance. That's the actual name, non-service connected pension, aid and attendance. So what that is a benefit to help with the cost of care in either in-home care or an assisted living facility, okay? So the 4 big caveats, the 4 big eligibility criteria, and I'll get into more about the benefit. The eligibility criteria are, you have to have wartime service, you have to have 1 day during a war period, okay? The asset limit changed. It is now you have to have less than $123,000. They have a 3-year look back. All right, this will all be important in a little bit. Then they take into account, part 3 is what is your total income, whether it be Social Security, annuities, whatever. Each family is a little different. And then the last step is how much you're spending on care, okay? And how much you're spending on care is predicated on the activities of daily living that you need assistance with, whether it's bathing, feeding, dressing. You kind of get the idea here. But you need to have 2 ADLs, activities of daily living, that you require assistance with, okay? That benefit will help pay for the cost of that in-home care. The max for a single veteran currently is right around $1,800. For a veteran with a spouse, right around $2,200. So what that means, if you have a veteran who's at home, okay, and he cannot, or she cannot bathe or feed themselves, and the spouse has somebody coming in, whether it be, companions and homemakers, I mean, the list goes on and on for the individuals that will provide that care, okay? The VA will help pay for some of that care. That max amount, like I said, is $1,800 for a veteran, $2,200 for a veteran and a spouse, and if it's just a spouse, it's around $1,100 to $1,200, okay? How they get those numbers? Like I said, they look at first that you have wartime service, or if it's the surviving spouse, that the veteran had wartime service, right? They look at your total assets. They look at how much you have coming in. So, for example, if you have $2,000 a month coming in, whether from Social Security and a pension, and you're spending $2,000 on care each month, the VA will recognize you as having $0 in income, so you zero out, and you would qualify for that max amount. So if it's a surviving spouse, again, I gotta hit those numbers, right around $1,200. If it's the veteran, it's right around $1,800. If it is the veteran and the spouse married together, living at where they're married, is $2,200. The VA does not, I don't want to say does not care, right? If you have $2,000 coming in each month and you're spending $5,000 a month in care, the max numbers are still the same. Okay? Max numbers are still the same. That's important because you can see some of those costs of care can go up into $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month, right? So while the program through the VA, it's not a crazy amount of money, but it does help. It's a significant benefit. That carries if you are in an assisted living facility or if you are at home, okay, paying for those services. If you are at an independent living facility, it does not count unless you have services coming into said facility. But at that point, it's not really independent living. Everybody kind of tracking on that? Okay? The last but not least when it comes to the pension is what's called the nursing home pension. Some people call it the nursing home $90 pension, a couple different names for it. That is for the veteran or the spouse. And I say or because it's incumbent on the other having passed away. Okay? That's the morbid part of it. So if you are on Title 19, you're in a nursing home, and you're a veteran that served, or the surviving spouse of a veteran that served during that war period, you're eligible for that $90. What that is, that's in addition, totally separate. So how many of you have heard of Title 19? Let's start there. Title 19, everybody got it? No? So Title 19 is when you're, basically you have to spend down your assets, you're about to go into a nursing home, or it could be anything, really. And you only have so much assets remaining. So if you're in a nursing home and you have the max of 1,600 it was, I don't know if it's recently changed. It's still 16. The state will allow you, the person who is in the nursing home, to keep $60 of their income. The rest goes to that nursing facility, okay? Called applied income. The rest goes right to that nursing facility to pay for that cost of care. The VA kicks in an additional $90, not pertaining to anything having to do with income, not having to do anything with Title 19, Medicaid, nothing. $90 additional to that veteran or surviving spouse, making their petty cash each month $150, which doesn't seem like a lot when the ladies want to get their hair done, you know, or the guys want to get some shrimps. I mean, it could be anything, right? It's your 150, you go from $60 to $150 petty cash, which is a pretty good deal, you know, when you're in the nursing homes. So we've hit on a couple, we've hit on a lot of stuff in about a half an hour's time, okay? Again, specifically, if you have something medical pertaining to you, hold it. I'm gonna hang in here, I'm gonna grab a coffee, and if somebody wants to talk about that, I'll hang and chat. Does anybody have any questions for the good of the group?
The assets, the total assets, and that doesn't include your house?
It does. So yes and no. And I always say the answer depends, right? And everybody hates that answer. If you are living in the, when we're talking, she asked if the assets, the $123,000 for assets, if that counts your house, okay? It does not count your house if you're living it. If you're at home with in-home care, it does not count your house. Everybody got it? If you're in a facility, it does.
So if your wife goes in there.
That's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets tricky. When you talk about if the wife is in the house, then you talk about division of assets and all this other stuff. If you have specific questions like that, we'll sit down individually. Because I'll be honest, I've only ever had one case like that in my 5 years where the veteran was in a facility, but the wife was at home, and it was literally right when I started, so I don't remember the outcome of it, and I apologize. So.
Can we back up to the cemetery for a second?
We're going back to cemetery?
If one spouse wants to be cremated and the other wants to be buried, how does that get done?
So it depends. She asked if the question was if for cemetery, which I knew we'd get back to it. For cemetery, if the veteran or the spouse wants to be cremated, right? And the other wants to be buried casket, that's fine. Okay? The thing to make known to my team, all right, is if you are, who's first? Okay? So if the veteran is going, for example, if the veteran is going to be a casket burial and the spouse wants to be cremated, okay? If the spouse goes first and she's cremated, he or she, and is cremated in that spot, that's a specific type of grave that is set up, okay? The reason I say that is because if you pull that if the veteran dies after, and now you have a casket to go where the cremated urn once was, see the kind of order of events. So if the veteran or the spouse want to be casket burial, just let us know that when you first call in, and we can make those arrangements when the grave is being dug. Okay? That's it. It's just a little bit of a change in the digging. That's it. Okay? But you can do double depth casket if you choose. You can do casket and an urn. You can do 2 urns. The world is your oyster. What else we got? Exactly. It depends.
Talking about disability.
Yes.
But I'm just curious, like, so I'm here with my dad.
Yep.
And so he served in the Korean War, and his health benefits are all, never gone to the VA for any kind of health benefits.
Yep.
So that's what we're a little bit curious about. I mean, is there a possibility of being eligible for, or is it only for just if you had a disability?
No, it's not only for disability.
Okay.
So what she's asking is VA medical is most commonly what it's called. That is basically a needs-based program through the VA to help with, say for example, prescriptions. All right, that's a pretty common question. I apologize for not hitting it. It's an application process. It takes into account your income from the year prior. It does not take into account your assets. Okay? So there could be somebody that has $1 million. They lost their job the previous year, and they want to apply for VA medical and become eligible. Okay? That's a gross exaggeration, but you kind of get the idea. And then that person could be eligible to go get some of those services that they may need at the federal VA. Yes.
So would that be something you would just have to go to the VA hospital, or would that?
You can, but Ann can definitely facilitate that. Yep, Ann can definitely point that around. No questions asked. What else we got? Going once, going twice. I'm out. Thank you.
It's your service.
You guys are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's step up
Thank
the
you.
microphone.
Yeah. My son was in the same thing.
Everyone, if you just give me 1 more minute.
Fort Bragg. And
I wanted to talk to you about the Honor Them with a Flag event that the town has put on the last few years. The North Branford Women's Club, they've merged together, and they've been running this flag, Honor Them with a Flag event. We'll be doing it again next year, so we'll start selling applications in May. If we have good weather at the Memorial Day Parade, we'll be set up there. And we'll have applications in both the libraries and around town at different establishments. But the flags will be, it's a $10 donation for a flag to honor your vet. 100% of the proceeds goes to various vet organizations. And the women's clubs dole that out after they receive all the revenue. But I just want to let you know that they'll be doing it again. The flags will be displayed from Flag Day, June 14th through July 5th. If you want to retrieve your flag and keep it yourself or repurpose it on a grave, you're more than welcome to. You can pick the flag up July 5th in front of the town hall, or later on the following week or so, a week or 10 days, in the vestibule of the town hall. So we'd like to have your support, and like I said, 100% of the proceeds goes to veterans organizations. Thank you.